Welcome to an introduction to decimals. The first thing we want to do is to define what the word decimal means. A decimal, as you can see, you use them all the time, is any number, and you can find this on your notes, in our base 10 number system. So the missing word there is base 10. Well, let's start off in talking about our introduction to decimals with our first number here, 57 over 49 hundredths. You know 57 is the whole number, 49 hundredths is a fractional part or a decimal part. You can actually use a place value chart and put numbers into your place value chart to compare them, to order them, to see which one is larger. When you're using a place value chart, as you move to the right in the place value chart, each number is divided by 10. So a place value chart, as you move to the right, you're dividing by 10. But you could put your number into a place value chart. And if you look at a place value chart, you can see you've got your decimal, which is the and. So and is always going to be the decimal point. And then you have your ones, your tens, your hundreds. Those are your whole numbers. Then you have your smaller fractional parts like tenths, hundredths. Notice those words have the th at the end. Tenths, hundredths. And you can see those. And you can know those are smaller. Okay, so let's take our fractional part, 57 and 49 100ths, and to put that into our place value chart, we've got the 57 is the whole number, the and is the decimal, 4 is in the tenths place, and 9 is in the hundredths place. So you can write 57 and 49 hundredths as 57.49 or 57 and 49 hundredths. As you look down on your note sheet, you'll see some examples. Example 1 says, write each phrase as a fraction and as a decimal. So let's look at the phrase. The phrase is 6/10, and the fraction part is going to be 6 over 10. And the decimal part is going to be 0.6. The next one, you have 5 hundredths, spell that correctly. As a fraction, 5 hundredths is going to be 5 over 100, and as a decimal, it's going to be 0.05, and that is 5 hundredths. Now go ahead and fill out the next two. 32 hundredths as a fraction and a decimal, and 267 thousandths as a fraction and a decimal. Go ahead and pause the video and fill that out. Okay, so now you can check your answer. 32 hundredths is 32 over 100, or 0.32, 32 hundredths. 267 thousandths is going to be over the 1,000, so 267 over 1,000 is 0.267. If you have difficulty placing these in the correct place, just read them out loud and you'll see. So why do you think that we would need to use decimals in the real world? Later on in your activity, you're going to be asked to write a paragraph or so about what would happen if there was no such thing as a decimal. And I'm asking that you be creative and you come up with something. So don't answer this question on your notes yet, but think about if there were no such thing as decimals in the world, what would the world be like? So as you look through the rest of your notes, example 3 talks about writing each decimal using words. So you just go ahead and fill out the phrase for that, and then go ahead and do that, and then you can come back and look at your answers. Example 4 says write each whole number as a decimal. So remember, guys, whole numbers, even though there's no little parts, fractional parts after it, they're still considered digits and decimals. So whole numbers, you've got to put that decimal point towards the end so you don't forget. Then as you go through your place value chart, you can see when comparing two decimals, it's helpful to write them using a place value chart, so you can tell which one is greater. So let's look at example 5 right now. Which number is greater, 0.57 or 0.549? You can put these in a place value chart like you have on your sheet, or you can line them up. 0.57 and you have 0.549. You can annex some zeros to compare, and you can see that you've got 5, 7 is greater than 4. So you could actually use what we call an inequality sign. Now remember, an inequality sign are these signs that you can use to compare numbers. You have less than, greater than, or equal to. And later you're going to have things that are not equal to. But we're going to deal with less than, greater than, or equal to. So when you're comparing these two numbers, we know that 0.57 is the greater number. It's greater than 0.549. Or 57 hundredths is greater than 549 thousandths. So I am going to make my inequality sign face the numbers that it's going to be opened out to the number that's larger and pointing at the smaller number. And that's basically what an inequality sign is. Somewhere in your notes, I want you to write something about inequality signs. And you have less than, greater than, or equal to. These are all called inequality signs. So the last thing that I'm asking you to do is, if you look at example 6, it says, compare each pair of decimals using the symbols less than, greater than, or equal to. Those are inequality signs, and you can mark those. So you've got 4.1, or 4 1/10, and then you have 4 1/100. So which one is going to be greater? Well, the 4.1 is going to be greater than the 4.01. The next number you have is 3.05, or 3 5/100, compared to 3.5, or 3 5/10. Well, as you can see, the 3.5 is going to be greater than the 3.05. And the last one, you've got 1.3 compared to 1.30. Basically, those two things are equal. You could put a 0 there, and that's not going to change the value of that number at all. The last item I'm asking you, and if you are using Cornell Notes in any of your other classes, you know that you are supposed to write a summary at the end of your notes. And your Cornell Notes are study tools. So your summary is basically, what are decimals and how do you use them in real life? So in one sentence, a complete sentence, you're going to write decimals are, so that's going to lead off your sentence. Decimals are, and then you're going to answer that in a full sentence, what you think decimals are and how do you use them in real life. Okay, have a great day and get ready to go on to the next videos if you need to.